Previously on.
Previously.
Previously on.
Previously on.
Previously on.
Previously on.
Previously on.
Previously on.
Previously on the recap sequence.
Hey folks, welcome to the recap sequence. We're back. We are, it's good to have somebody local again. It's been a couple of episodes since we've had somebody from our neck of the woods. We have James Dickson, a local artist from Fredericton. How are you today, James?
Very good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Well, thanks for coming on the show. It's good to finally have you on. We officially met, on the interview side of things back at Freddie Beach.
Yes.
Not too long ago. So but time flies.
It does.
The weather changes. It's no longer 40 degrees out or indoors.
Right.
So actually nice to see you without so much sweat on my brow, because that was a warm one at the exhibit center.
Yeah, it was both years were super warm there, but we survived. I had a fan behind me at least this year, so it wasn't so bad. So.
Yeah.
I do want to jump into this, James, because, just in the lead up to our recording this evening, when we met you at Freddie Beach, you were there with your lovely wife, Melody.
Right.
And we wished you guys a happy anniversary.
Yeah.
And then I had the fortunate opportunity to talk to you this past weekend. You were at HalCon for the first time, and at which I wished, again, your lovely wife, Melody, a happy birthday.
Yeah.
And now this evening, she is now, I'm going to assume from here on out, she is your talent manager.
That's correct. Yeah, for sure. My biggest fan, as it were. Yeah.
Well, and very, very patient. So
for sure.
Yeah. That's
I owe her big time. It seems like these events always seem to fall on one of our dates, right? Like an anniversary or her birthday. But she's been. I'm lucky enough to have somebody that supports my passion in art. So
excellent.
Hey, so let's talk.
I'll accept it as long as she accepts me. So
good deal. Good deal.
HalCon, your first time going.
Yes.
How was it? Because I saw you Friday before they opened up the doors, and you had a prime location. Just as you walk into the vendor floor, you were there at the top of one of the aisles, and then I happened to see you again on Saturday, and you said you had one of the busiest Fridays you'd ever had ever.
For sure. Yeah, it was amazing.
What was it?
It was, this was my first year doing cons, as many as I could. I think I had 5 or 6 conventions this year prior to HalCon, and that one by far was surpassed everything. I could almost combine all the other ones, and it kind of hit me. It was that large, like it was that big. It was exciting. It was amazing. Tons of people in talking and chatting. So yeah, it was amazing, and I certainly hope they'll have me back again next year. So.
And you stayed quite busy, didn't you, the whole weekend?
I was busy. I had a handful of commissions that I did on the floor and at the hotel afterwards. I had to bring a couple of commissions home with me. I just didn't have time to get them all done there, but yeah, it was amazing. The horror prints that I did, I think were the top 2. I had a Jason and a Michael Myers. I think those 2 together were like the pair that sold the most. So
really,
yeah, horror. That's funny. I got ready for Miramichi Horror Fest. I did a lot of horror themed prints, and it went over well there because that's obviously was the theme for it. Yeah. But I find every convention I've been to, there's like a section of horror fans that are always there looking for that stuff. So I'm gonna have to retool my inventory a little bit and bring a little more from now on.
Now, when you were there, did you guys at least get a chance to walk around and experience it, or?
I got around for a little bit. Now I have horrible knees, so I can't walk too long, but I got up and down a little bit, and then it's amazing to see how much talent is in those venues like that, like crammed into one big hall. There's artistic talent, the writers, the people that are there doing signings. It's just amazing. So I lucked out and did a napkin art of the gentleman that acts as Death from Supernatural.
Oh, nice.
Right on.
So I did a portrait of him on a McDonald's napkin, which was always popular at my table. People get a kick out of flipping through those. And my wife brought it down and had him sign it, and he was like showing everybody because he was like, "This is on a McDonald's napkin." So those types of things at conventions are always what I remember the most.
Right on.
Yeah, Julian was a fun guy to chat with. Do you obviously, you're in con recovery mode now? Because
for
that's
sure.
it is a lot that goes on in that weekend when
Exhausting.
you're
Yeah.
there.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
What
It's like it's almost like a little bit of a depression sits in after a convention when you get home.
What so this year you attended ECCE, Freddie Beach,
Right.
Miramichi Horror Fest, Halcon. Was there any others?
Yeah. The AEX both in Charlottetown and
All right.
Fredericton.
Oh
Yeah.
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So what's your plan for next year? More cons?
As many as possible. I think I'm going to try to get to YCon, CaperCon, as many as I can on the East Coast at the very least.
Yeah, I've heard awesome things about Cape. I'm from Cape Breton.
Right.
As well, I mean, I was born there, so but yeah, I've heard really cool stuff about CaperCon. YCon, I had just learned about. I think this year seems there's quite the
Right.
explosion of East Coast maritime comic conventions and expos. So it's a good time to be in this area of the world.
For sure.
So how'd you get your start?
Uh, so I'm a graphic. I graduated from college with Sandy Carruthers back in '93. I was
Ah,
basically a commercial design
cool.
course, it was called, but it's a graphic designer. Uh, so I mean, aside from that, I've been drawing my whole life. I won my first art contest. I keep telling people in elementary school, and that kind of solidified my love for drawing and that sort of thing. So, um, but professionally, I was a graphic designer for a couple of years after graduating. And quickly became outdated as technology came around. I was a homebody, so I didn't want to move to like the larger cities and find the work in that field. So I stepped away from artistic endeavors altogether for a while there, and ended up working at Walmart when I moved to Fredericton because my buddy was going to UMB, so he's like, "Come on up, try to find a job or something here." So that's what I ended up doing, was working in retail with Walmart. 23 years later, as an assistant manager, I was like, I'm tired of Walmart.
Right.
But while I was a manager at the Northside Walmart, I would go into the McDonald's on my lunch breaks and I would take a ballpoint pen and start doodling on their napkins. And
Nice.
eventually I'm like, I should take one of these home, see if I can color it. So that kind of started my napkin art. People would see those, get a kick out of them, and say, you should do an Instagram account and show them off. So that's where Lunch Doodle James came from. That's how
Ah,
I got into Instagram. And from there, I met other artists that were doing like small format illustrations on trading cards. And that's how I got involved with Tops and Upper Deck and some smaller publishers, Cryptozoic, doing official licensed trading cards, which kind
Wow.
of really got me back into drawing. Like that whole thing
yeah.
from napkin art to the trading cards really in my adult life brought me back to drawing. And now I'm kind of slowly trying to transition into the comic field as well with some fun projects with Sandy and Justin, you obviously know. So
Right.
Well, I mean, yeah, so you did the cover. We got it right here. Dark Coast,
yes,
issue #1. That was pretty cool.
yeah,
And I know you're working on issue 2 with Sandy as well, are you?
yeah. I'm working on a couple ideas for the cover. So I come up with an idea, Sandy come up with an idea, then Sandy gives me a couple more ideas. So I'm kind of hashing through a couple of things now on the sketchbook, and I'm going to send him at least 2 versions so he can choose from those two with which one he wants to go with. So
How cool was it when you finally held your copy?
man, super awesome. And Sandy knows what he's doing with comics books, obviously. So just
Sure.
the trade dress and everything with the artwork on there, the whole thing just looks really cool. And I've been able to get at least 20 copies from Sandy. And so in the last 2 cons that I've gone to, they've all sold out. I've
Yeah,
made a
that's right.
couple
You had some in
prints.
Halifax.
I've made a print out of the cover as well, and a couple of those have sold. So it's awesome to get a chance to do that project and then see people follow up and enjoy the book, buy it, and just talk about how the cover is cool and
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
that sort of that's yeah. So it's been a blast.
I have to say I enjoyed it. That panel that they did at the end of Freddie Beach, where they had all of you
Yeah.
guys from Dark Coast there
For sure.
to launch it, and I know Sandy had another launch at PEI. I'm
Yeah.
really glad to see something like this with all these creators involved. See something like this come to fruition.
it's amazing when you get to be a part of a project like that. You know, my own worldview might have been a little limited with East Coast creators outside of a couple of the artists and Sandy, obviously. But when you get to work on a project like that and you see how many writers, colorists, letterers, artists, like it's amazing. And the the fact that they were able to have that many together at Freddie Beach Fan Fest at one time was just awesome as well. So just sitting there, if you saw me at all, it was probably just smile from start to finish. It's
Yeah.
just fun to be a part of. So.
It was an impressive crew of people too. Like almost like like hard to get everybody in the frame. It was such a
Yeah,
big team, and yeah, impressive to see how everybody worked together. And Sandy even had we had a cosplayer,
His niece, I
niece.
his
believe.
Yeah,
niece,
niece.
yeah,
Yeah,
Niece, yeah.
yeah,
Oh
yeah,
man, that was cool.
yeah,
yeah,
She
yeah.
she nailed that character right off her whole
yeah,
outfit.
yeah.
What a great way to
She
kick
did
it
a
off.
wonderful job.
Yeah.
So how does this what you're doing end up transitioning where you become a part of the GY6 team?
Uh, I think it was last year's Freddie Beach. Justin approached me and asked me if I was, if I had. I think he might have even asked me if I had a talent or a, talent manager or something at the time, or he asked me if I'd be interested in having one. Anyway, it was a conversation with Justin last year at Freddie Beach, and then he threw out the option to do a cover for their first issue of The Got Your Six, and the rest is history there as well. So that was my first official printed project that I got to do. And then I had an opportunity to do a Frankenstein piece for Slam Press Tomes
Oh yes, okay.
with Duncan, which
Yeah.
was amazing having another published piece in a book, and then following it up with Sandy. So now having 3 published pieces is just, I mean, that's kind of the way my career has been going now. It's just having these little fun things kind of fall into my lap, and so
And it all started with a McDonald's napkin.
that's right.
I gotta ask, because when you started telling us about the napkin art in particular, like as a
Yeah.
medium to work with, I mean, I have a hard enough time writing a phone number. Not that I write my phone number on napkins, but like just even like just ink to or pencil or they're very fragile. It's a delicate piece
For sure.
of medium to work with. So why choose that to start with? Was it just kind of a they're here,
Like I
I'd like to
said,
give it a go?
I was just killing time for my
Yeah,
hour on my lunch at McDonald's. They always give you about 20 more than you need when you
sure.
get your meal. So I had a few kicking around, and I just
Yeah,
started, a ballpoint pen works well because obviously the ball part of the pen, it doesn't grab or dig in. It's rolling nicely. So it allowed me to put an initial sketch on the napkin without damaging it. And then from there, when I decided I wanted to try to color one, then I was like, okay, what am I going to color this with now that's not going to tear it or dig in again? So luckily I had alcohol markers, which have a brush tip. I never use the chisel tip because that will actually dig in and rip a hole in it. But the brush tips put a nice base layer of color down. And then I use colored pencils. So like a wax based colored
okay,
pencil is soft enough, as long as it's not freshly sharpened, obviously,
right.
it'll lay a nice layer of color on top of the alcohol markers. So it just worked out. And it's a cool
Yeah.
little texture to, like, there's enough tooth on a napkin that'll actually pull the pencil nicely. And
Okay.
I've got some now that are close to 7 years old, and it holds up. Like, it
They're
hasn't
holding up.
faded. They're still nice. So it's a weird thing to work on, but it, like,
Yeah.
again, it's a great conversation piece at the tables for sure.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really
It
cool.
makes you stand out from everything else that's around you. I mean, who's going to walk up to a table and go, a napkin?
Yeah,
You
I
know, and
get
then
that from a couple people that have purchased them in the past. They'll always come back to me later on and say, "I showed all my friends; they couldn't believe it was on a napkin." So, yeah,
Yeah.
it was a outside of being a fun medium to work on. It's always that cool, start of a conversation with somebody when they're flipping through, looking at them, and laughing at the characters that I've chosen to draw, that sort of thing. So,
the Dark Coast cover. How long of a process was that for you?
uh, with me, it's a lot of start and stop. But if I were to condense it down to, like, if I sat down and start to finish, I would say probably close to 3.5 hours.
Are you your own worst critic?
I think most artists are, but yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I'm the type of artist that I'm sure there are other artists are like it as well, but I don't like holding on or hoarding my own stuff. I'm either giving it away, or if I'm not happy with it, it's just crumpled up and trashed, or
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And sad to say, I tend to lowball my prices at times because I'd rather somebody take it and enjoy it than not move it to somebody and hold on to this big this big stockpile of inventory. So
Yeah. I mean, not terribly profitable, I guess, but as an artist, it's very generous. A
yeah,
way to
my
to to,
my
to share
wife
what you have.
wouldn't argue with me, of course. She would rather me
Wait a minute.
make the money, but
Yeah, you should probably just hand the napkins over to your wife when you're done.
that's right.
Just let her handle it.
Yeah, she'll walk away from the table and she'll come back and then she'll ask me if I had sold anything. I said, no, but I gave a couple stickers away to some kids, which is always fun. That's the other
Yeah.
thing about conventions. The cosplays are always amazing.
Yeah.
And when you see a little kid going by like as a Spider-Man or a Wolverine, and you've got those stickers, of course
Mhm.
I'm just gonna hand them out and say, good job on your cosplay. But
Yeah. Yeah, well, and so you had never been like this was your first like attending HalCon, not just as a guest, but it just in
correct, correct,
so
yeah,
I the because I do find once you get to HalCon, cosplay is a bit of a level up from what maybe you're used to seeing at some of the other cons.
for sure, yeah.
How'd you find some of the cosplays that you saw there?
They were amazing. Uh, Before I talk about HalCon, I have to
Yeah,
jump back to AEX
sure.
because the young lad that went around with the coconuts doing it was
Oh
like
my
a
God,
Yeah,
the
the
night
Monty
Monty
that
Python.
went,
Python
Yeah,
piece.
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
I was like, that busted my gut. Like my wife and I were laughing the whole convention when he went around like that. So
Did you see
it,
the Black Knight at
I
HalCon?
did at HalCon with the severed arm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing how much uh, I mean, it's an artistic endeavor. You have your visual artist and you've got these cosplay artists. They put so much work into their stuff.
Mhm.
It's amazing to see some of the work that they do and the time that they put into it.
Yeah.
And my oldest daughter cosplayed there as well because both of our daughters came with us, but she enjoys cosplaying, so she
Yeah.
did a couple characters over the weekend. And just watching her kind of sew her own little things together and do the makeup and stuff, it blows me away for sure. It's a level of talent that I don't have. I might have the visuals, the drawing and the sketching, the painting, but she's got the whole creative mentality to just piece things together and make it look awesome. So
It's
What?
something, yeah. We actually had it was two Halcons ago, I think. We were waiting in line for I think we were getting some photos by
Autographs.
Graham McTavish,
Yeah.
right,
and we were second in line behind a full-on fur cosplay. Allison Carroll or Nova Fur, I think is what she goes as on the social media, and she gave us a good description of sort of the process, and it was so much so we were so impressed. We had her on the show. It's the only cosplayer we've ever had
Yeah.
right.
and and behind her she had like all of her drawers of everything, like all of the supplies, and
Yeah, it's
just yeah,
amazing.
the amount of thought that has to go into even just for functional design, like magnets for the eye
Yeah.
parts, and like just the interchangeable things. So yeah, it's a
Yeah,
whole other skill set. So
for sure.
I'm
So
always blown away at those.
you definitely want to appreciate them when they're walking by, give them a
Yeah.
thumbs up or give them some
Yes.
kind of an acknowledgement because
Yeah.
they have put an awful lot of effort into that.
Yep.
Basically just for 2 or 3 days of the week of
Yeah.
that month or
Yep.
whatever the year, some of them, but yeah. So I'll give them that acknowledgement whenever I can for sure.
Yeah.
Did you see the Marge Simpson?
Yeah,
I
I've
saw
seen a
the march
couple.
on
There was a
online.
couple of
Yeah.
them there, but yeah,
Yeah.
that was amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, what did your daughters think of this? Had they ever been to HalCon before?
No, my youngest daughter eh, got to get a photo taken with the Trailer Park Boys, so that was
Oh,
that was it.
nice.
Her weekend was made just with that one photo. But
Yeah.
outside of that, she kind of walks the vendor floor a little bit, and then she's done for the convention. My oldest daughter, because she cosplays, kind of gets a little more immersive, enjoys the vendor. She's always buying prints and stuff. And then, the photo ops that she has with other cosplayers that might be in the same genre of anime or whatever that she happens to be cosplaying. So it's fun to watch them enjoy it from their own perspective while I'm at my table doing my own thing. But
Yeah.
Sure. Hey, this is Jamie,
And this is Ryan.
and we're the Recap Sequence.
Be sure to tune in to us every Wednesday night on CHSR 97.9 FM or online at chsrfm.ca at 7 p.m. Atlantic, 6 p.m. Eastern.
And if you don't catch us live, you can catch our podcast on Spotify, on Amazon, anywhere you get your favorite podcasts. And we also have a YouTube channel you may have been watching. And if not, you should be. Catch us on YouTube at Recap Sequence. So
And subscribe.
subscribe. Yeah, please.
Back to the
Plus.
cosplay though.
Yeah.
Did you see the individual that had the hat that was about 10 feet long?
Yep. Yeah.
I was like, they're going to
that's
have the
based-
strongest neck muscles by the end of the convention.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
That's based off a video game, I think, is what that one.
Yeah.
I can't remember which one it is, but yeah, though there was that a couple years ago. There was a guy who had a full-on Thanos outfit.
Wow.
Oh my goodness!
Like,
yeah,
yeah,
he was
yeah.
Thanos sized. Like
Yeah.
it was if
that's
if
crazy.
you were to stand next to Thanos, it would have been actual size. I gotta I this is- go to my Instagram. It's a-
Yeah, you could. Yeah, you could
or
see it
our
there.
the recap Instagram.
We
It's on both.
we've met a couple Wookiees.
Yeah.
There were no Wookiees there this year.
Yeah, I always go to the.
that,
No, there was.
Oh, was
What?
there? Oh,
Yeah.
I missed the Wookiee then.
there was at least one Chewbacca there for sure that I noticed out in the hallway. So
I always feel bad at how warm they must be, but at least it's November and it's not 40 degrees in August in in the exhibit.
Yeah,
center.
that's true.
No sled on
True.
the exhibit center, but yeah, I can't imagine the cosplay in that type of an environment. But yeah, they're always and I like some very elaborate. There was some Transformer
Yep.
type.
Bumblebee's been there a couple
Can't
times.
imagine the balance required.
I think that the amazing thing though as well, James, about this is we're talking about all the cosplayers at HalCon and any of the events, but the vendors as well. My God, there was incredible amount of talented people in there. You
Yeah,
had
for sure.
you had some of them. I mean, did you check out the sabers, the lightsaber booth?
just in casual passing.
Yeah, same here. Because I was like, yeah, they're too expensive for my
Yeah.
taste.
that's
and
the
whatnot.
problem is you once you hold
Yeah.
one. Yeah,
But
it's-
there are
it's all
some
over.
really talented vendors in there.
Most definitely. And when you're tabling, you want to obviously financially you want to do well at your table.
Yeah.
So you got to kind of temper your visits to other vendors because you don't want to like offset. Like I said, my wife likes to make money.
Yeah.
So I gotta be careful with what I go look at other booths. But it is nice to support them as well. So I'll get prints or I'll pick up a few things. Like I picked up there was I can't remember the name of the vendor, but she had this kind of really cool booth where she had like Mer themed animal blends and stuff. So I got like
cool.
a coloring book with all these little characters in there for my wife and a print. And then my daughters would get prints and then come back and show me, look at these cool artists. And then I'd have to go over and check it out, of course. But, like
What's
Joshua FX, HFX.
Yeah, I saw him.
Been there
They've
before.
been at a
Yeah.
few vendors or a few cons. So I've gotten to know them and chat a little bit here and there. I can't remember the name of a few of the other ones, but there's another gentleman that does a lot of kind of Korean themed illustration work. It's just blows me away that they can, with the amount of talent some of these guys have,
Yeah.
for sure.
It's a great kind of ecosystem because everybody's there for a different reason, but it's all the cosplayer draw brings people to your table. For example, it's bodies on the floor, and it's it's very cool how important you can't have it without these elements. And I think we've been to 8 or 9 HalCons,
Yep.
and every single time I go, every year I'll see the same vendors. You may be in a different spot, but it's like I'm glad you're here again because
Right.
there's everybody's got their fit. So it's the same thing with Artist Alley and the way that it's all set up. I mean, when I'm there, I spend a fair amount of my time walking around, checking out the vendors, and I just love saying hello to everybody. Like that's my
Right.
thing is just kind of the check in.
And nobody's really stepping on each other's feet too.
No.
Like, even in Artist Alley, like, there's so many different styles. Like everybody's got their own little pocket.
Yeah.
And we all talk about, we can all get together and talk about mediums used and that whatever, but we're not really fighting for the same crowd most times. So
Yeah.
it's always a good, friendly environment. I just love that whole convention. I'm glad I started doing them. Freddie Beach being my first one. last year, and then this year has just been a blast. Everyone I've gone to has been a blast. So.
Do you find each one changes your next experiences in? You get some new ideas on how your table experience is going to go.
Yeah, for sure. Just seeing everybody's table setups, and we're looking at. My wife is constantly looking at Amazon for things we can kind of bring in and add to the table to make it a little smoother or a little more organized each time. Yeah, so yeah, it's great.
Are you what are you allowed to say if you're working on anything right now with the GY6 side of things?
I can say I'm working on something.
I see Justin's already gotten to you. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
My other question is this is, and I asked you about this when we met you this past summer.
Right.
You're a horror fan, obviously.
Yeah.
You're Banner. You got Michael Myers. You've got Jason. Um, but then right on around one area, you've got Michael Scott.
Yeah.
Explain how Michael Scott fits in, and it's a specific Michael Scott picture as well, which is one of my favorites.
Yeah. So, well, The Office is one of my wife's and it's one of our favorite shows. Obviously, it's hilarious. And What We Do in the Shadows is quickly becoming probably our second favorite. Just
100%.
the humor's on the same level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm 51, so my what I enjoy kind of gets pretty varied when you look at go from my napkins to my sketch cards to the art I choose to do. Subject matter is all over the place. But I love that stupid humor. So anything from The Office that's got Michael involved is Prison Mike was one of my subject matter shots as well. But just that little bit of a lip bite he did to that face, like
Yeah.
I was like, I found a reference that was caught it just at the right time, and I was like, okay, that's going to be my subject for this particular sketch card. But
It's a whole language now too, and like Ryan and I pretty much only communicate in office meetings. There's a few words in there, but generally every response is it's the same with my wife. It doesn't matter what important thing I've said. I'm as she's typing, I'm scrolling through Jiffy or whatever, trying to find just the right one to respond with. But it's pretty much all on The Office.
We actually, my wife and I, we have our Christmas stuff is up.
Of course it is.
And I started on the holiday Monday. We watched all the Office Christmas episodes.
Yeah, well, that's here too. We've got a I'm the Grinch, and
you cannot not watch those though. Now it's like it's a Christmas staple for me, right? And I still think my favorite one is the Yankee swap. What he swaps out the iPod and everything, and then gets them all drunk on $160 worth of vodka.
Yeah. I just recently I restarted it, but I kind of have to. I usually skip the first two or three episodes just to of season one to I kind of get past some of the growing pains of the series. But yeah, it's a phenomenon. It's really like one of those things that, and I mean, I've watched Game of Thrones 4 or 5 times. I've watched Breaking Bad, and those are the things I swear are the best storytelling on television. And it doesn't matter what I haven't watched that's on my watch list. Generally at bedtime, it's like, okay, well, let's throw The Office on. So I don't think there's anything I've watched in more repetition than that. So
when Dwight came as the Queen of Blades but couldn't have the blades on his there's not an episode you can't talk about where there's something hilarious didn't happen.
No, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
I was curious at HalCon this weekend or any of the cons that you go to, what are some of the commission requests that you get? Are there like popular ones that you get to do more so of, or?
I don't think I've had to repeat any kind of a commission request yet. They've all been kind of unique. But I'll tell you, I prefer ones because I'm traditionally a portrait artist. So if I get if someone comes up with a commission request and they want me to do an original character of theirs or something, then I get a little hesitant because I want to obviously put my own style onto it. But because I'm so used to pulling up reference and kind of doing that sort of thing, unless they've got a a manual of this is all the information you need for my character, I get a
Yeah.
little nervous. I did do one for HalCon that was an original Star Wars character.
Oh
Turned out
wow.
well.
Cool.
The person who commissioned it enjoyed it, so that was the main thing. So I guess that's where I get nervous. If I'm asked to do something that I'm not 100% sure I'm going to be able to accurately complete, I don't want to see that kind of, unhappy look on their face when they pick up their commission afterwards. So I tend to try to stick to something I'm comfortable with, but I'm open to suggestions. Obviously, I'll do them if I feel I can. So
I'm curious, like you were saying, Michael Myers is one of the ones that's more popular for you to do, or was popular at HalCon. Do you base
right
it on a specific Michael Myers from the film, or is it your interpretation of Michael Myers overall?
now it's mainly what I'll do occasionally is find a couple reference photos from the films, and occasionally I'll blend a couple so I can. You won't always find exactly the same image that I've drawn on a photo somewhere. Be something changed about it.
Okay.
But I do enjoy photo reference just to make things accurate, and I want somebody to look at it and go know exactly who it is, or you know what I mean, or be pulled back to a certain scene in a movie and go, oh yeah, that's when that certain thing happened. But yeah, I don't change it up too much from the photo reference, but I will change a few things just to make it a little more my own. So.
So if we come up to you and say, "Hey, we want Jason Voorhees sketch card," how long will it take you to put what to do one out?
You're looking at anywhere from hour and a half to 2.5 hours if I'm
That's
doing a full color kind of fully fleshed out sketch card. So
if it's on a napkin.
almost the same. Maybe a half hour less. But I can only finesse detail on a napkin so much before I
Right.
start tearing it up. So
Right. That's hilarious.
Yeah. So I guess con season is done. How soon? I have you are you lined up for anything as of now for
uh,
beginning this year?
right now I've got Charlottetown, AEX in Charlottetown. I think I've got lined up. Miracon next year will be a 2-day event. I've already booked my table for that.
Right on.
And I've got the dates for all the other ones. My wife's got a list of dates, so I
Okay.
got to put the time off request into work, make sure I get those. Yeah, I'm looking to, like I say, I'm looking to hit as many as possible next year, as long as the dates line up and work is okay with me being away for those weekends. And we should be at least 8 or 9 conventions next year.
That's
Hopefully.
exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Oh
good.
yeah, I love it. So
So you
yeah,
have no problems packing up and off we go down to Yarmouth for YCon or
no. Even the smaller conventions, you know, I don't want to keep harping on the financial things, but even if I break even with table costs and a hotels, it's basically a vacation away for my
yeah,
wife and I, or my
right.
wife and our kids. So I just look at it as a fun weekend away, where I get to kind of enjoy the environment of the convention while I'm there, and maybe do some fun art or meet a new potential client that enjoys my stuff and kind of gives me that little push on social media. But or getting to meet people like Sandy and Justin and getting to do
Yeah.
fun projects and stuff like that. So
I find it fascinating because we've done a couple of interviews recently where we're talking to people, artists and writers who how they got going and your story. I mean, it's a McDonald's napkin, right? That's the tagline right there.
yeah,
But
yeah.
do you if people come up to you or at cons and say, How do I get my start? What do you like? Do you have any advice for people who are out there, who will be listening to this and go, I really want to give this a shot?
Um, as far as just getting into the art field
Yeah.
or getting
What do
into
you
conventions, or
recommend for anybody who wants to get into the being an artist?
yeah, just get a sketch pad and start doodling. That's really all it is. And find some social media sites that you kind of some artists on. Like I'll follow David Finch
Oh, yes.
or Ryan Benjamin on YouTube every now and then, and I'll kind of watch some of their tutorials. David still goes live once a week, I believe, to do his either Monday night or Thursday night draws that he does. So just find some inspiration, find a style that you like, and you kind of just draw along with them. And even if it's just an arm or a shoulder or something, you just keep working at it until you're happy with that piece, and then move on to the next sort of thing. So,
So
and you
do
can
you think
always reach out to me. I'm always happy to field artistic questions on social media too. So if there's anyone that ever has a question about something I've done or something that they could do to, there's a couple guys I met on Facebook that are constantly sending me messages, showing me a little photo of what they've drawn and saying, how can I improve this piece here? And I'm always more than happy to kind of offer my suggestions and help along that way as well. So
that's awesome. Where can people find your work if they want to follow you?
Instagram is my most active social media, and it's Lunchdoodle James, all lowercase, all one word, Lunchdoodle James. Or just reach out for James Dickson on Facebook. You'll know it's me. I never take a serious selfie. It's always a weird shot of myself or a piece of artwork on there as a profile pic. So.
Do you have a bucket list of anything out there, like a character, if you were ever approached, you'd want to work on?
Not so much a bucket list of characters, but I do prefer, if I'm doing it for myself, I'm always going for like the bulky, muscular kind of Simon Bisley kind of looking type of characters. So like Lobo or Swamp
Nice.
Thing, Man Thing, like all the bigger, bulkier guys.
Yeah.
Are the ones that I enjoy doing. As far as like a bucket list project to work on, it would be nice to get one of those kind of, like a licensed cover, like a variant cover for someone at some point. That would be super awesome. I'd be tickled pink if I got a chance to do something that was like a variant cover that was in comic book shops all over the place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just seeing the other day, we went into Strange Adventures down here in Fredericton, and my wife was like, "Hey, look!" And Dark Coast was on the shelf, and I was like, "Oh man, that's amazing!" So
Yeah, very cool to see that. I actually did. So Strange posts. Usually on the Wednesdays they'll post the rack, and I
right.
saw it.
Yeah.
It's very cool to see.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
I didn't see any social media posts about it, but just going in, I was looking for old school heavy metal magazines because I've kind of my nostalgia's kicking in, and I saw they were relaunching, doing a Kickstarter thing. So I was like,
I heard
oh
about
man, I
that.
still
Yeah.
wish I had all of those copies. So I was in looking for some copies of that, and she spotted that, and that was like, oh, my day is made now. So
It's funny you mentioned heavy metal because I remember seeing something about the sort of making a comeback, and I remember like late '90s, I guess, there's a
yeah,
very well worn VHS of the movie, and it was just something. It was like like a very much like hanging out, and we'll watch this and
right.
really just try and make sense of it. Very interesting piece for sure.
Yeah, there's really cool artists in those magazines. So when I was younger, I was too young to be buying those
Sure.
magazines when
Yeah.
I had them. But the convenience store down the road from where I lived would have this old kind of secondhand magazine spot where you could pick up old issues, and I managed to get a couple of the old heavy metal mags. But the artists in there, like Richard Corbin and Mobius and all those guys, I was like, that was, to me as a young artist, I was just blowing my mind. So I was like,
Yeah.
this is what I want to do.
So that you would say they were major influencers then on your career?
Yeah, Frank Frazetta, Richard Corbin, a little later on, Simon Bisley, Jim Lee, Wills Portacio, like all those guys that were doing like the super detailed characters in comic books. Yeah, Boris was another one that was a big one. Movie posters, Drew
Yeah.
Struzan. Yeah, a lot of influences.
What's it like when you go to these events now and you see some of these people that you're that you're following, or you've like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, you can't help but fanboy.
Well, I got up the courage to go over and talk to Ramon Perez. And it was just a short conversation. I didn't expect much to develop out of the conversation, but I'd been watching a lot of Ink Pulp podcasts with Sean Crystal and Jim Mafood and those guys. and Ramon is almost like a side staple on. He's on there all the time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when I heard he's going to be at HalCon, because I missed the opportunity to talk to him when he was in ECCE.
Right.
So I just went over and had a quick little conversation. Hey, I saw you on Ink Pulp, that sort of thing. But that was my little fangirl moment where I was like, I don't know how to develop this conversation anymore. And then I already have. So I was like, I just bought a couple packs of cards from the Raid studio table, and then I was like, have a great
I saw
day.
that
And
post. I
went,
saw you had
Yeah.
posted the raid cards too. Yeah. I forgot like that whole when we did the panel, the raid studio panel. That's a really interesting story about all that came together as well.
Yeah.
What a really cool collective of folks to get together, and it was good to see them. Well, I wasn't there, but I was good to see the photos.
Yes.
of that crew that up at Halcon as well. So
Yeah, it
you
was.
got a chance to
I did.
reconnect
I stopped
with
by and
Dax
talked
Gordini
to
and,
Ramon and Dax about that because I'd gotten Dax's first book, the one that he put out, and I was like, I need book number 2 because
Right.
his sales pitch was like it's Calvin and Hobbes, but
Yeah.
my interpretation of it, right? And I
Right.
grew up reading Calvin and Hobbes and just loving Bill Watterson's work. So
Yeah. Well, look, man. I think we're just about at the end of our chat here, but I'm really glad we got a chance to finally pull this one together. It's been an entire season. It feels like now that we're into November. So good to.
and you've been very patient with us having to reschedule as well, and we appreciate that.
Yeah,
No,
I
owe you at least that much for missing out on the first interview.
Oh, no
option.
worries, no worries. Yeah, I had a collection of plagues in the month of September, so that complicated
Right.
things for sure. So yeah, glad we could we get this chance to talk. Looking forward to well, we're gonna see you around the block, really, man. Like you're in town, but we'll probably cross paths at some of these cons in
Oh
the
yeah, for
year,
sure.
and so you can expect a visit at the table and probably a microphone in your face at some point. So.
Look forward to it. Yeah.
And if anybody hasn't picked it up, their copy of Dark Coast yet, do so. It is an awesome collaboration of talent. And of course, James did the cover here, as you can see. And yeah, no, James, this has been a riot. And
Right on.
if they ever ask, you already have a manager. She's looking after
That's
you,
right.
so it's all taken care of.
Your
there.
talent managed.
Yeah, she's out in the kitchen tapping her nails on the table, waiting for me to come back out now. So, yeah. She was actually like, "Aren't you supposed to be on an interview right now?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I can run it."
Well, we appreciate her for allowing you tear yourself away for a little bit to have a chat with us.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
and I'll pass on our best to her. Thank her for all of her patience, and we will.
And thanks for this.
We'll probably wish her a happy birthday or a happy anniversary or something too at the next table that we see
Yeah.
you at. So
It's inevitable.
for
Yeah.
sure. Right on, James Dixon. Thanks so much. Have a great rest of the night.
See you later,
You
James.
as well.
Take care.
Thanks.